Welcome to the Pursuing Points podcast, where it's all about the pursuit of credit card points and miles today so that you can travel the world free of charge tomorrow. And now, your host, Peter Foti.
All right. Hello. Welcome back to the Pursuing Points podcast. This is episode 18, and I am your host, as always, Peter Foti. Now, I'm recording this podcast. Today is Wednesday, January 3rd, but you are probably not hearing this until basically a week from today. So you should be hearing this on or around January 10th, but I'm recording it today, January 3rd, and this is a very impromptu podcast recording. So let me sort of set the stage. I was browsing Instagram on my iPhone, the Pursuing Points Instagram, that is, which if you don't already follow, please do. It's instagram.com/pursuingpoints. So anyway, I'm browsing the app, and on the app, I like to follow a lot of like travel accounts. So if you or someone you know has like a travel themed account and they post cool stuff, let me know because I'd like to follow them and see what they're up to. But as I'm browsing, as you do, you come across advertisements. I would say 9.7 times out of 10, when I see one, I'm just going to ignore it. But today was the 0.3% chance. So what happened? Well, I'm scrolling through and I see an advertisement for a Marriott Rewards Visa card, which, for those of you who don't know, the Marriott Rewards Visa is a product from Chase. So those are the same folks that do the Freedom. They do the Freedom Unlimited. They do the Sapphire, both Preferred and Reserve. All cards that I've talked about on this podcast and cards I will continue to talk about. This card specifically is obviously for Marriott Rewards. So when you spend money on it, you're going to earn Marriott Rewards points. Now, I don't think I've stayed at a Marriott perhaps for a family trip years ago, but nothing recently, certainly nothing since I've started, say, Pursuing Points. And frankly, I have no intention on staying anywhere anytime soon. And that's not a knock against Marriott. I actually think Marriott, they're incredible properties. I just don't really have any travel coming up that puts me at one of their hotels. All that being said, the advertisement that I saw it said earn up to 120,000 bonus points. And that number, of course, anytime you see a number that big, at least for me, when I see 120,000 points, I get pretty excited. I equate points with our SPG Moments, which, quick side note, I've gotten a lot of feedback about the last episode where I discussed my SPG Moment experience where me and 3 friends went to see Phish at MSG. People seem to really enjoy it, which I think is awesome. I really enjoyed making it, and of course, I had a lot of fun at the concert. If you haven't already listened to that, please do. And thank you all for your feedback. Anyway, back on track. So I see the 120,000 bonus points, and for the first time in a long time, I clicked on an advertisement. And of course, like I said, I'm on my iPhone, so it brings it up in the small browser, and it says earn up to 120,000 bonus points. It says that's 10 points per $1 spent on all purchases within your first year up to 12,000 with the Marriott Rewards Premier credit card. So generally, when we see sign-up bonuses, what they'll do is they'll say spend 3,000 in your first 3 months and we'll give you 50,000 points. Or spend 5,000 in the first 6 months and we'll give you 60,000 points. This sign-up bonus is obviously a little bit different. So the sign-up bonus itself doesn't have a set it doesn't have a set number of bonus points that you're going to get. So in other words, if you sign up for this card and you spend $3,000, you'll get 30,000 points. If you spend 5,000, you get 50,000. If you spend 12,000, you get 120,000 bonus points. What's more, and I think that this is probably, let me double check before I say this out loud. Yeah, this is also true for the publicly available offer. Basically, once you add an authorized user, you'll get an additional 7,500 bonus points. So all told, if you spend 12 grand and if you add an authorized user, you'll end up with 127,500 Marriott rewards points. Now, for someone who doesn't stay at Marriott, you may be wondering, why is this of interest to me? Well, let me tell you. So, as I mentioned in the last podcast, the SPG Moments experience that I had was so good that I really want to try and accrue more SPG rewards points. And there's not a ton of ways to do that, right? I could sign up for the SPG Amex, which I most likely won't get the sign-up bonus for because I've already had the card and I already got the bonus. And Amex does the whole once-in-a-lifetime sign-up bonus. So if I got that card, I would earn 1 point per dollar. And it would be good because they're valuable points, but, we want to try and do a little bit better than 1 point per dollar. So how else can we earn those points? Well, you can actually transfer Marriott rewards points to your SPG account. And this, of course, is a result of the fact that Marriott and Starwood are now a combined company. So the two of them are now sort of one and the same. They still have separate loyalty programs. So you still have Marriott Rewards and SPG Starpoints, but you can transfer the points between the two. Now, the transfer is not a 1-to-1, and so there is a conversion rate. If you transfer Starpoints to Marriott, you'll do so at a 1-to-3 value. So in other words, 1,000 Starwood points is 3,000 Marriott Rewards points, and it works the same going the other way, just sort of inverse. So 3,000 Marriott points get you 1,000 Starwood points. So they understand, I guess, as we do that, Starwood points are very valuable. It's not to say that Marriott points aren't necessarily valuable. It's just that because the Starwood points are so flexible, because remember, I'm really talking about them insofar as the SPG Moments program. But of course, you can use SPG points for a number of different redemptions. You can use them at their hotels. You could use them to pay partly with points and then pay with the rest with cash at their hotels. And you can also transfer them to airline partners. And more often than not, when you hear people talking about SPG reward points and how valuable they are, they're saying that because of the transfer capabilities to the airlines. You can actually transfer 20,000 Starwood points and get a 5,000 point bonus when you transfer to an airline program. So effectively what that means is that one SPG one SPG star point. I apologize. I'm mixing up the terms reward point and star point. Forgive me. One SPG star point is effectively worth 1.25 airline miles. So I will I'll include a link to the SPG website that sort of describes that in better detail. But just know that SPG star points are very valuable. They're very flexible. And based on the experience that I had recently, I want to get as many of them as possible. So back to the Marriott Rewards card. For me, as I mentioned in the previous podcast, in 2018, I don't want to spend all my money on the Delta card that I've got, which is what I've basically been doing for the last 2 years to try to meet their MQM bonus. And so I've been looking for what the next product will be. And, I guess you can call it like serendipity that I just happened to see this advertisement on my phone while I'm browsing Instagram, because this is a card that I'm going to try and sign up for right now live on the air. So I've done this, I think 3 times. So I did it for the Chase Sapphire Reserve. We got approved. I did it for the Amex Platinum. We got, I didn't get denied. What is it called? The reconsideration, basically. And then I did it for the Bank of America Premium Rewards card, which I was approved for. So, fingers crossed. I'm hoping that I get approved for this. I do have a little bit of a balance on some of my other Chase cards right now. And generally, I would suggest that you pay off all your balances before you sign up for a new card. But in my case, my total utilization is still well below 10% across all cards. credit score is good. And so I feel pretty confident that I can apply for this and get approved. So before I submit the application, let's just go over the rest of the benefits. So to recap the points, I expect to be able to spend the $12,000, which would give me 120,000 points, which again, that basically means that I'll end up with about 40,000 Starwood points, plus the 7,500 what is that? That'll come out to just over 2,000 Starwood points. So all told, I should end up with, assuming I do a straight transfer, I'll end up with about 42,000 Starwood points, which based on what I have in my account right now should be enough for maybe one more SPG moment. And then we'll start playing this game all over again, looking for more Starwood points. As far as how the card earns points, so you get 5 points per dollar on every dollar that you spend at participating Marriott Rewards and SPG hotels. You get 2 points per dollar on airline tickets purchased directly with the airline and at car rental agencies and restaurants. And you get 1 point on everything else. And basically the way that the bonus system works is if you spend $1, you get 9 bonus points. If you spend $1 on non-bonus categories, you'll end up with 9 bonus points for $10 points total. If you spend $1 on airline tickets, that normally would get you 2 points, and then you get an 8-point bonus. And then for the hotel, $1 equals 5 points, and then you get the 5-point bonus. For me, I plan on continuing to utilize my Sapphire Reserve for all food and travel purchases. And then I will just use this card basically everywhere that I'm currently using my Freedom Unlimited, which is 1.5 Ultimate Rewards points per dollar. I'll start using this Marriott card until I've reached the 12,000. The other big benefit is that every year on your account anniversary, you actually get a coupon for 1 free night at a category 1 through 5 hotel. So when the card cycles and you pay your annual fee, which is $85, you get a coupon for 1 free night. So assuming you can make use of that coupon, the $85 fee sort of pays for itself every year. Speaking of the $85 annual fee, this offer, which I will also link to, I don't know how long it'll last for. It's not an affiliate link. Feel free to use it if you'd like. But the first year is $0 introductory annual fee, and then it's $85 a year thereafter. What else? So you get 15 credits towards your next elite membership level at Marriott. Basically, that means you're going to get silver status just by having this card. Silver status, it doesn't do much. And I was actually very surprised when I logged into my Marriott account. I apparently have silver status. Frankly, I'm not sure how that happened, and I might even call them to ask about it. But basically, it basically gives you everything that you get as just a regular rewards member. You just get additional points for eligible stays. You don't really start to see a lot of benefits until you get to gold or platinum, which, like I said, for someone who doesn't stay at Marriott's or really hotels in general all that often, I don't really see myself needing those elite credits because I won't really use them, but they're nice to have. So those are kind of all the benefits. And then I guess if we just want to compare this, the publicly available offer right now, like if you just go to Google and you type in Marriott Rewards Premier Credit Card, the offer you're going to see is 80,000 points after you spend 3,000 in 3 months. So that's a much more typical sign-up bonus. But I am seeing, I think, more of these sort of alternative sign-up bonus programs where it's not just a flat rate. They are encouraging you to spend money on the card because, of course, if you just sign up for the card, get the sign-up bonus, they're going to make maybe a little bit of money. They might just break even, or in some cases, most likely, they're probably going to lose money if you don't become a customer over the long term. So in situations like this, where they're giving you points as you spend money over the first 12 months, I think their reasoning is that they expect you to be a customer for longer and use the card and put more money, more spending on it. And for me, that's 100% true. Like, if I was going to sign up for the regular card with 80,000 bonus points, I would spend the $3,000 and I'd probably be done with the card. I might keep it just to get the free night, but as far as me putting money on the card and them making money off the merchant fees, we're done after 3,000. Whereas in this case, I'm going to spend the 12,000 because I want the full value. And of course, it costs them more in terms of points, but not that much more, right? It's not an even split. I have to spend an additional $9,000 to get 30,000 points, right? So, I think it works out for both parties. I think you're going to see more of these types of sign-up bonuses moving forward. I think Discover does something similar where it's like, you earn double points for the whole first year or something like that. But I would expect to see more of this. And it stands to reason. The credit card companies don't want you churning and burning, which is how people used to get points. And I think some maybe still do. But as I've said on the podcast and I've written in articles, that's not what I want to do. And it's not necessarily what I encourage others to do. My whole thing is really understanding where it is that you spend money and then getting yourself credit cards that will help maximize those expenditures rather than trying to play this game where you sign up and then you get the bonus and you cancel and you sign up again. And by and large, the companies have done away with that, right? Chase, you can't get the same bonus if you've already, let's see, it actually says it right here. It says you can't get this bonus if you've already done it in the past 24 months. Whereas you used to be able to churn and burn on a sort of much faster basis. Amex does the once in a lifetime. So they all have safeguards in place to avoid that, which is why I think, you can play the game for the short term or you can optimize for the long term, which is what I both advise, and that's just what I do. So understand where you're spending money, understand where you're going to spend these points. Like in this case, I know that these are going to go to my SPG account so that I can be ready to take advantage of an SPG moment that catches my eye at some point in the future. So, deep breath. All that being said, we are going to try and apply. So I just hit the apply button. Now I have kind of a loud keyboard, and generally, I would have already filled out this information, but in this case, I don't know. I just didn't fill it out. So if you hear that, that's just me typing on my keyboard. And so just forgive me. But basically, I'm on step 1 of the application. I'm just filling out my address. And I think it's also asking me for my Marriott reward number, which I don't know. So I will go to the Marriott website to find it. Let's see. Where does it list that? On the Marriott website, I just went to activity. I don't see it there. Let's click on points. Nope, don't see it there. How about overview? Man, this number is hidden. Okay, let's look at profile. There it is. Okay, so I've got my rewards number. Let's go ahead and paste that in there. Next. Okay, they want some financial information. So this is asking me, do I have a checking account? Do I have a savings account? What is my monthly rent? How much money do I make? All of that kind of stuff. Okay, that looks good. Security. We need a few more details. All right, primary phone number. It's easy enough. Email address. I've got one of those. Date of birth. If you want to send me a birthday present, my birthday is in April. Social security number. We won't say that out loud. And mother's maiden name. Next. All right, authorized user, which I have. I'll go ahead and add her. Let's see. Okay. And my authorized user has a different address than I do. So So we're just going to enter that. And then this is it. Now, it didn't ask me to sign in with my Chase account, which I feel like usually it does. So that's kind of weird. So on the last page, just the disclosures, annual percentage rate says 16.99 up to 23.99. Just real quick, I've never really talked about that stuff, annual percentage rates, cash advance, balance transfer, like any of that, for a couple reasons. One, and I've said this before, right? I don't treat credit cards as like money that I don't have. I treat them like debit cards, meaning that I don't buy things on credit cards and I say to myself, okay, like I don't have the money for this today, but I'm going to make payments over 12 months. If I pay for something on a credit card, it's because I know I can pay off the bill at the end of the month. If I can't, then I just don't. So for me, I don't even look at stuff like APR because it just doesn't matter to me. I don't expect to ever have to pay the interest. And as I've said before, like if you're paying interest, especially on a rewards card, you're just not going to get any real value out of the card because whatever points or value you get, you're just going to pay back in the interest. So if people are interested, I can do like a deeper dive podcast on things like interest rates and charges and whatnot, balance transfers. But for now, I'm just going to kind of gloss over it. Although I do like to read over this stuff just to make sure. So $0 intro fee for the first year, $85 after that, late payment fee, etc. Terms and conditions, blah, blah, blah. Okay, good. So I have read and agreed. Moment of truth. After 21 minutes and 40 seconds of me talking, I am going to hit the submit button. So it's verifying my information. We are loading. We are waiting. The bar is moving across the screen. Okay. So it says, thank you for your request. We need to review your request a little bit longer. We will let you know of our decision by U.S. mail. This could take up to 30 days. So this is probably a result, like I said, of the balances that I currently have on some of my Chase cards. Basically, when you get this notice on the screen, you have two options. One is you can just wait. Two, you can call the reconsideration line. I have no patience at all, so I am going to call the reconsideration line. For those of you who have been listening to the podcast for some time, you'll remember that this is the similar decision that I got when I signed up for the Amex Platinum. I was ultimately approved, but I decided I didn't want the card because they couldn't tell me if I was going to get the sign-up bonus. In this case, I know I want the card. So what I'm going to do is stop the podcast. I am going to call the reconsideration line. And once I have, hopefully I'll be able to speak with them, and then I will come back and let everybody know how it went. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, and we're back. So I realized that for, obviously, people listening, that was instantaneous. So I was on the phone for a total of 9 minutes, and basically, let's just walk through what happened. So the first thing I did was I had to Google what the Chase credit card reconsideration phone number was because I don't know it offhand. There's actually a really cool website called doctorofcredit.com, and the owner of the website maintains a collection of all the different reconsideration phone numbers. So these are business, personal, etc. And so basically I found one for Chase and I called up. And I think I may have talked about my process for doing this on a previous podcast, but if not, it's basically very simple. First of all, you're speaking with someone in customer service. So generally speaking, if you're nice to them, they'll be nice to you. And basically what I did and what I always do when this happens is I just call up and I say, hi, this is Peter Foti. I just submitted a credit card application and it told me my decision was pending. I'm calling to see if you need any additional information from me in order to process the application. That's it. That's my 1 or 2 sentence spiel. And I wait to see what happens. So the first person I spoke to, she asked me for either a reference number or my social security number. I gave her the social. She looked it up and she told me that It was pending because of a verification issue. And I thought to myself, okay, that makes sense. So basically what happened was, for those of you who didn't listen to the previous podcast, I recently moved from North Carolina to New York City, and I updated my billing/mailing address on my Chase account the other day. After I did it, I got some Chase fraud emails saying like, hey, were you the one who changed this address? If you did, don't worry. But if you didn't, please call us. And so my assumption is that for this application, they still sort of had their guard up, and they weren't positive that it was me. Luckily it was. So basically I got on the phone with the verification person. She didn't really explain too much about what she was doing. She placed me on a brief hold, and then she sent me a verification code over text, which I had to read back to her on the phone. Once we did that successfully, she went ahead and processed the application, and we were approved. Even after, I don't know how many credit cards I've signed up for since I've been signing up for credit cards, but it's always fun when you get an approval. So, I should get the card in about 2 weeks. My authorized user should get it in a similar period of time. And what's great about this sign-up bonus is that, I have the whole year to spend $12,000. Listen, I understand that every single person has a different financial situation, and what might not be the biggest sign-up bonus requirement, spending requirement for one person might be a big one for somebody else. So I'm not saying that this is like universally like, oh my God, it's no big deal, it's $12,000. Just so happens, I live in New York City now. It's an expensive place to live, and I use a credit card for literally everything. So I don't suspect I'll have any problem doing that. I'm really looking forward to getting the card. I don't know if these Marriott cards are metal. I don't think so. I think that the Ritz-Carlton, the Sapphire Reserve are both metal, but I think the Marriott is probably just a regular old piece of plastic. But, it is what it is. So yeah, super excited. I'm going to get the card. I may do a write-up on the website, just sort of walking through everything I mentioned here today. And then, I'm looking forward to spending what I have to spend, getting myself some more Starwood points, and seeing what SPG Moments are in our future. Speaking of SPG Moments, I have some ideas about things I want to do. I like to feature some of those, so I may start doing more content around the moments. And I really want to hear from folks who listen to this podcast about your experiences with SPG Moments, if you have any. So, as always, feel free to email me, peter@pursuingpoints.com. You can use the contact form on the website. And if you have experiences with SPG Moments, please let me know. I'd love to, who knows, maybe we'll have you for an interview on the podcast. If you're someone who's like an expert in SPG Moments, maybe I'll just do a collection of like testimonials and stories and put it on the website. Not entirely sure, but if you have content that you'd like to contribute, please reach out. What else? So I guess the only other thing I want to mention on this podcast is we're now available on Spotify. So if you want to listen to the podcast on Spotify, you can do that. We're also on YouTube, so you can, it's uploaded as a video, of course, but it's just the audio with the cover art as sort of the entire video. So feel free to check us out on there and subscribe. I have some ideas for video content that I'd like to start doing and at least looking into. I've never done anything with video before. I hadn't done anything with audio until this podcast. So I'm excited to learn more about that. And, once I have the video stuff up and running, hopefully you'll all be subscribed on YouTube and you'll enjoy it. So, thanks for listening. I'm super excited about this new card. I'm super excited about the prospect of having, what did I say it was, like 40 some odd thousand Starwood points coming to me after I meet these minimum spend requirements and then do the transfer. I'm excited about my one free night on this card's anniversary, and I'm excited that I was able to call the reconsideration line successfully. For anybody who has any questions about that or wants to maybe ask me something in private about reconsideration lines, just let me know. And enjoy the podcast. Reach out with all your questions, comments, concerns, and I will talk to you next week. Thanks for listening.